Szanowni Państwo, witamy serdecznie na dzisiejszym spotkaniu. Jak Państwo wiecie, jest to pokłosie naszego spotkania partnerskiego sprzed 2 tygodni, na którym co prawda była krótka prezentacja na temat rozwiązania Zerto. Niemniej dzisiaj chcemy się skupić na technikaliach, dlatego dzisiaj będzie nacisk na warstwę techniczną. Prezentację właściwą z live demo, z dyskusją, do której serdecznie zapraszam, będzie prowadził pan Guido Gunci z biura Zerto. Ponieważ całość będzie w języku angielskim, ja pozwolę sobie też dosłownie tytułem wstępu takiego wspólnego mianownika opowiedzieć po polsku na bazie slajdów angielskich, natomiast potem Guido już będzie prowadził prezentację w języku angielskim. Ja będę do Państwa dyspozycji, gdyby była kwestia czy do pytania tematów związanych z rynkiem polskim, czy wręcz jakiegoś przetłumaczenia pytania. Jestem cały czas online do dyspozycji Państwa, także bardzo proszę o zadawanie pytań w trakcie. Chodzi nam o to, żebyście Państwo jak najwięcej z tej prezentacji wnieśli, żebyście wszelkie techniczne aspekty tutaj wyjaśnili i zadawali pytania. Do tego bardzo serdecznie zachęcam. Jeśli jeszcze taka uwaga, sesja będzie nagrywana, także po spotkaniu będziemy mogli podzielić się nagraniem do Państwa, bądź do ewentualnego wykorzystania w jakichś rozmowach czy dla Państwa klientów. Zatem włączymy nagrywanie. OK, czyli jeszcze raz witam serdecznie, Sławomir Karpiński. Pozwolę sobie króciutko ze strony naszej jako dystrybutora parę słów wstępu powiedzieć o Zerto. Jeśli chodzi o tą firmę Zerto, na rynku jest to już od bardzo dawna, jest to bardzo solidne rozwiązanie, wygrzane, że tak powiem, dostępne na całym świecie od 2009 roku. Firma Zerto do tej pory miała 4 de facto biura. My jesteśmy tutaj obsługiwani, wspierani przez biuro akurat Zerto niemieckie. Firma sama, jak Państwo być może zauważyliście, została niedawno wykupiona i stała się częścią Hewlett Packard Enterprise, HPE. Czyli tutaj, jak zobaczycie takie małe logo Zerto, ono już jest podpisane pod HPE. Więc tak, żeby nie pozostawiać żadnych wątpliwości, 2 słowa wyjaśnienia. Zatem tak, Zerto jest w tej chwili w portfelu firm finansowanych przez HP Enterprise, natomiast sama marka Zerto jeszcze przez najbliższy czas, mówi się o paru latach, zostanie bez zmian, business as usual, czyli firma działa normalnie. Budujemy jako dystrybutor kanał partnerski dla firmy Zerto i wspieramy Państwa w każdym aspekcie, aczkolwiek gdzieś w tle toczy się jakaś kwestia integracji czy wcielania organizacji Zerto pod HP Enterprise. Ale to jakby tylko tytułem wstępu, bo w samej prezentacji o HP nie będziemy mówili o samym rozwiązaniu Zerto. Jeśli chodzi o platformę Zerto, też żeby tak ustalić wspólny mianownik, bo widzę tu parę osób dołączyło, które nie było na tym spotkaniu naszym, jest to platforma, która skupia w sobie szereg bardzo istotnych usług dla zachowania ciągłości działania, dla bezpieczeństwa danych. Zatem głównym elementem Zerto jest disaster recovery, ale rozumiane już nieco szerzej, bardziej jako odporność, czyli platform resilience, czyli odporność na awarie. Disaster recovery jest jednym z aspektów, to jest taki core Zerto, którym Zerto się zajmuje od zarania dziejów swoich, natomiast generalnie ta platforma jest mocno już rozbudowana i także zapewnia możliwość niezależnego backupu, archiwizacji danych, czyli nie tylko disaster recovery, ale również backup długoterminowy, czyli long term retention. z mocnym naciskiem, z mocnym takim kierunkiem wsparcia dla platform chmurowych. Jak zauważymy, u dołu mamy wsparcie dla wszystkich platform głównych chmury publicznej, czyli Zerto znajduje doskonałe w tej chwili miejsce tam, gdzie jest kwestia migracji środowisk wirtualnych do chmury, czy to w modelu po prostu takiej typowej transformacji do chmury, czy też jeśli chodzi o po prostu chmurę hybrydową, gdzie część zasobów pozostaje w centrum danych, a część jest w chmurze. W każdym razie ta chmura jest bardzo blisko i Zerto ma już w tej chwili mocno takie też osadzone, sprawdzone rozwiązania dla chmury publicznej, o czym Guido na pewno jeszcze powie. I też w ramach takiego wstępu warto powiedzieć, że Zerto jako platforma disaster recovery czy data resilience dla świata wirtualnego również mocno inwestuje i wchodzi w świat kontenerów, czyli to jest ten aspekt wsparcia zespołów deweloperskich, tam gdzie się tworzy aplikacje, eksploatuje aplikacje kontenerowe. Tam Zerto z tego samego interfejsu, według tej samej idei potrafi działać. Więcej o architekturze, o szczegółach za chwilę powie Guido. Także z mojej strony tylko tyle wstępu, jeśli chodzi o samą firmę i o zakres tematyczny. Postaramy się Państwu wspólnie z Guido zaprezentować i przypomnieć jakby szczegółowo działanie, architekturę Zerto i również pokażemy to, znaczy Guido dokładnie pokaże na bazie live demo, jak platforma Zerto funkcjonuje, jakie są jej kluczowe elementy. Z nadzieją taką, że jeżeli Państwo się zainteresujecie, wrócicie do nas, zapraszamy do tych z Państwa, którzy jeszcze nie są podpisanymi partnerami Zerto, o nawiązanie takiej umowy bezpośredniej za naszym pośrednictwem Zerto, do otrzymania dostępu do platformy Zerto, gdzie tam na platformie będziecie Państwo mieli jako partnerzy pełny dostęp i do dokumentacji technicznej, i do szkoleń technicznych, ale również do samej platformy w takim trybie online'owym. Tyle z mojej strony. Teraz, jeśli Państwo pozwolicie, przełączymy się na język angielski. Zanim to zrobimy, jeszcze ewentualnie, gdyby ktoś miał pytania do mnie takie ogólnej natury odnośnie samej platformy czy modelu dzisiejszego spotkania, to bardzo proszę na czacie bądź na metodę głosową, a ja zaproszę Guido już do poprowadzenia jego prezentacji. Guido, I just, without mentioning to you, I just did a short introduction to Zerto as a company who is now part of HPE, and also mention about the subject of today's meeting, slightly touching the architecture or maybe areas where Zerto is present. So now I would like to ask you for taking the presentation part with more technical content, showing our guest what is exactly Zerto is, how it works, how it looks, and how Zerto can help customer to secure their virtual environment.
Thank you so much, Slavik. Really appreciate it. So give me just 1 second to start the presentation. And I will propose to go to do a walkthrough on our architecture, and then we can, if there are no questions or after we answer all the questions, we can jump into the live demo. So let me share. Okay, so this is our architecture. Which are the Zerto, sorry, let me move this box, otherwise. So which are the main Zerto architecture components? We have 2 components, the Zerto Virtual Manager and the virtual replication appliances. The Zerto Virtual Manager is our management interface that is used to orchestrate the platform and tracks also all the information about protected workloads and all the related informations. The ZVM runs on a Windows Server virtual machine, and we have one ZVM for each hypervisor management in the case of VMware vCenter or Hyper-V SVMM. So on top of this Windows Server virtual machine, we basically install the Zerto software. Zerto software can be installed via the setup bundle, can be downloaded from our My Zerto portal, and the installation is like any software. So double click on the exe file, and what is required during the installation are the credentials to authenticate with the hypervisor management. Why this is required? Since we interact with the hypervisor management to have a reflection of the virtual infrastructure, we integrate at hypervisor level. So during the installation, we provide the credentials. Once the installation is completed, we have full visibility on the virtual infrastructure, meaning that we can see data stores, we can see the host, the 6i hosts, and what we need, basically what we are not able to see yet are the virtual machines. In order to start protecting virtual machines, we need to deploy the virtual replication appliances. So the virtual replication appliances are Debian, are Linux hardened VMs deployed straight from the user interface. So once we install the ZVM in the source site and in the target site, I'm not saying production in the R because Zerto can also be used to distribute workloads. We can also work with one vCenter. In this case, will be only one ZVM. So one ZVM, one vCenter means one site for Zerto. So the ratio is 1-to-1 hypervisor management with Zerto Virtual Manager, and the same VRA with each host. So in this scenario, what we have is one ZVM in production, one ZVM in the R, and one VRA in the production host and one VRA in the target host. Once we deploy the VRAs from the ZVM, so the macro steps are mainly free to have Zerto ready to protect workloads. Deploy the Windows Server virtual machines for the ZVM, install Zerto, in both the sites, and deploy the VRAs. From that moment in time, Zerto is ready to protect the virtual machines in disaster recovery or in self-replication or in local continuous backup. And I will detail this more. Let's start with the R. So how we protect virtual machine, which is the technology that we leverage to protect virtual machines. So we don't use snapshots and we don't use agents. The technology that we use is a proprietary technology that has a zero impact for the production VM. As you know, snapshots has an impact on the virtual machines, and the agents as well. And the what is required from the agents is a manual footprint to install an agent within the VM. Those aspects are not relevant when we work with Zerto. Our proprietary filter basically intercepts the writes of the virtual machines, post-write. We intercept the I/O of the virtual machines post-write in a sync. So basically, when the virtual machine writes to the disk, when the knowledge goes back up, we intercept the I/O, compress, ship over the wire to the target VRA. That after an initial sync where we create a replica disk of the source disks, the VRA starts archiving the changes in the journal disk. The journal disk tracks can be configured. The journal is also what provides our data retention. can be configured in between 1 hour and up to 30 days. But in between the 1 hour and up to those 30 days, we have the benefit of granular restore in seconds. And the journal technology, the way we leverage the journal technology provides also RTO of minutes. This is by design, but the RPO of seconds is not provided only by the journal technology, it's provided also by the continuous data protection workflow, because this is continuous. So all the IO of all the changes of the virtual machines after an initial sync, of course, are intercepted, compressed, and shipped over the wire. So it is a continuous work is a continuous life cycle of the data protection, meaning that the data is replica data is always available in the target site. The replication is continuous, but is asynchronous. We call it near synchronous replication. The advantage out of this is not only the possibility to respect RPO of seconds, but also to do this with long distance deployment at kilometers of distance. So we don't suffer low latencies or long distance links. So we can replicate over 1 petabytes of data, respecting RPO of seconds and RTOs of minutes. So this is what provides basically the an answer to the DR scenario. But Zerto is capable to do more than this. So here we are talking about an on-prem environment, but we can do this. So we can answer this requirement. We can meet this requirement also during also to the public cloud, for example, still with the industry-leading metrics of RPOs and RTOs. But this architecture has been enhanced to a request that mainly comes from our customers to provide also the possibility to address backup use cases with our platform. And we implemented this in a very unique way. The way Zerto manages backup is very similar, and we will see this more in detail during the live demo. But the way Zerto, just to share a bit of theory behind this, why this is unique, because it is completely different from what you can find in the market today. Actually, backup is one of the main scenarios where the VMs are most impacted in performances. So what we do, we basically leverage the replica data as source for the backup instead of using the source VM. Instead of using the VM as source for the data. So the VRAs has a component embedded, the name is data streaming service, that based on schedule is capable to gather the data from the replica disk, and the replica disk can be either in the target site or in the source site. And once the backup schedule is triggered, Zerto, the VRA components start collecting the data and archiving the data into the long-term repositories. The long-term repositories can be either network shares, purpose-built backup appliances like HP Store ones, or object storage in the public cloud. We do support Azure Blobs and also S3 in AWS with immutability. Immutability is of course ugly adopted for an additional ransomware protection, because we provide an important answer. Actually, it is an unmatched answer against cyber threats. This is in addition to what we already today. We also provide our users, our customers, the possibility to shield the data via immutability to AWS S3, and we support also S3 compatible storages. But as you can see in this scenario, actually, we have the possibility to implement these in a very flexible way. Just to give you a simple scenario, what is possible to do with Zerto, also leveraging the one-to-many feature, because Zerto has the capability to protect simultaneously a single VM up to 3 different targets. What we can do. In this scenario, for example, we are doing DR of multiple VMs, group of VMs consistently from production to DR. In the same workflow, the same DR workflow, we can also enable the long-term retention schedule to archive the data, for example, on AWS S3. But at the same time, we can replicate the same VMs or subset of virtual machines to the public cloud. And again, we can reprotect multiple VMs or subset of VMs. So this can be this is fully selective and configurable by you. We can reprotect locally, like a self-replication, like doing DR in the same site, plus enabling again long-term retention of data. This means geo-redundancy of the data and possibility to restore the data in the DR site with DR use cases. So for example, if we need to restore data from long-term retention in the DR workflow, we can restore our data in the target site. We can do the same with failover operation in the DR site. But if we enable a local continuous backup, we can also leverage instant VM restore features. This adds the possibility to restore in place the virtual machines from the local journal and replica disk. But at the same time, we can restore files, folder, virtual machines, any elements from the this other backup set. So really flexible, and again, RPOs of seconds and RTOs of minutes. This is overall what we can do. But this is supported, just to give you a more readable view of what we discussed, what we provide our customers, the possibility to restore any element, like files, virtual machines, applications, or entire sites from seconds to years. And we do this, as I was anticipating before, consistently. We protect complex enterprise architectures consistently. So if you are familiar with traditional backup solutions or DR solution, you might have noticed any consistency between the VMs protected. If you start checking, if you, for example, are protecting an always-on SQL cluster, or you need to protect an ERP system, it is important that at the time of restore, that system is fully operational and not inconsistent due to the fact that the backup or the replication has been done in not in parallel, and at the preserving the exact same timestamp of virtual machines, of virtual disk, and attached to the relevant virtual machines. This is very important in enterprise, and this ensures that your recovery operations are safe. And of course, we have all the instruments then to validate your data protection strategy, to plan your data protection strategy. So in the cloud data protection slide shared by Slawek before, you might have seen that there was also orchestration, automation, analytics. So the platform is provided with all those instruments included. So a customer adopting Zerto for DR has all those features available. So there are no additional costs. All that comes to the customer, pass me the word, are benefits and return of investment in the platform, because we help customers actually reducing the complexity of their architectures, and also help the operations team to focus on strategic activities. You don't need to redesign or rethink your applications when you are approaching a digital transformation, or you have any project accelerated for the public cloud adoption. So I will jump back to the architecture, ask if there are any questions. If you are not comfortable with English, I'm sorry, actually, I don't speak Polish, but feel free to ask in Polish if there is something not clear. I'm sure that Slawek will help me with the translation, and I can try to answer your question. While if there are no questions, well, feel free again to ask as many as you want. We can jump into the live demo where you might have other questions.
Thank you very much, Guido, for that part. Szanowni Państwo, czy jakieś pytania się pojawiły w międzyczasie? Czy możemy coś ewentualnie dopowiedzieć, być może jeszcze raz w języku polskim, jeżeli to będzie pomocne. Także bardzo proszę ewentualnie o odmutowanie sobie mikrofonów. Jeśli chcecie chwilkę porozmawiać, zapytać, jesteśmy do dyspozycji. Za chwileczkę będziemy kontynuować tą część jeszcze prezentacyjną i potem live demo. Nie widzę pytań na czacie. Rozumiem, że nie ma pytań na razie, tak? Tak, jeszcze tylko chciałem Państwu tutaj jedną rzecz powtórzyć po Guido, bo dla większości z Państwa Zerto jest to pierwsze spotkanie Zerto. Zerto poza tymi wszystkimi rzeczami, które realizuje, czyli chroni nasz świat wirtualny, zarówno pojedyncze maszyny, jak grupy konsystencji, a zatem aplikacje, jest to środowisko niezależne od sprzętu, czyli bardzo istotna czasem cecha Zerto jest taka, że w produkcji możemy mieć dowolne systemy storage'owe, na których działa nasz VMware, ale już replikacja może być do drugiego centrum danych, gdzie jest budowane to centrum na zupełnie innej platformie sprzętowej. Zupełnie nie ma to znaczenia, bo tak jak Guido powiedział, działamy na warstwie maszyny wirtualnej. To jeszcze takie dopowiedzenie krótkie z mojej strony. Jeśli nie ma pytań, to kontynuujemy tą część techniczną przez Guido. Guido, there is no question in the moment, I just stress that we are independent from the hardware platform, which is in many cases a very important factor. And please continue your part with live demo.
Absolutely, and thanks, Slawek. Please feel free to add as many as addition as you feel important here. So this is I will keep this scenario for today exercise. So I will share actually what we in a live environment, what we just briefly discussed during the presentation. So this environment is an environment with two VMware sites, a production site and a DR site. But again, Zerto is also a great instrument also to distribute workloads across data centers, because we provide workload mobility. So we can help customers also in offloading one site or hosts, meaning if a customer needs to manage technology renewal, merge and acquisition, or move workloads to the public cloud, we can definitely help them in these scenarios. So as we discussed before, to protect virtual machines in one site, from one site to the other site, we need as first to install a Zerto virtual machine. The Zerto virtual, the Zerto virtual manager. The Zerto virtual manager runs on a Windows Server virtual machines, on a Windows Server virtual machine. So what I did was deploying this VM in each site. Once I installed the Zerto, we have access to this dashboard. The dashboard, of course, as soon as we open the dashboard, is empty without any metrics. And the second step that we have to follow is to pair the sites. As you can see, this VMware site is currently paired with another VMware site, so my target VMware site, but also with Azure and AWS. This means that I can replicate from A to B, but I can replicate also from VMware site A to Azure and to AWS, or from site B only to VMware site A. But we are not ready yet to protect virtual machines. As soon as we install Zerto, we are able to see the data stores, we are able to see the host. But in order to start protecting virtual machines, we need to deploy the virtual application appliances. The virtual application appliances can be deployed in each host, one by one, with the default values. So important to mention also the computing requirements of Zerto are minimum. We don't have proxy servers. We have a scale out of the box architecture. The more the infrastructure scale, the more Zerto scales in and out, because we are also cluster aware, so fully automated. We support also auto protection of virtual machines. We can either choose to install manually or via, we can also leverage workload automation and install at cluster. So if, for example, we have 3 hosts in a cluster, we can provide a pool of IP of 5 IPs. This way, Zerto, via the workload automation settings, can also be enabled to auto-deploy the VRAs, uninstall the VRAs, distribute the load, and so on and so on. We also recognize if host enters in maintenance mode or not. So the interface is very simple, but we have enterprise scale features. So we have throttling, time-based, bandwidth-based. I've seen before, I think, a question in the chat, which is the bandwidth required. So the minimum nominal requirement is 5 megabits per second with less than 120 milliseconds of latency. But this is really nominal, because what drives this choice is the change rate of the protected virtual machines. So with our analytics platform, we can basically estimate the live with the based on real load usage patterns, the requirements in terms of bandwidth, but also in terms of recovery disks, journal disks, etc. So, but usually the requirements are very low. So once we deploy the virtual application appliances, we are ready to start protecting virtual machines. And this is very easy when it comes to Zerto. We need to leverage our virtual protection group feature. That is a feature, but is also the way we orchestrate Zerto. So let's start creating a new VPG. Of course, the VRAs needs to be present in the source side, but also in the target side. And while I'm here, if we want to leverage backup, sorry, just 1 second. Sorry. And in order to use backup, we need to configure the backup repositories. So the repository has to be present in the target of the workflow the protection workflow. Meaning, if we enable long-term retention in the DR workflow, we need to have the repository present in the target site. If we do that locally via local continuous backup, we can configure the repository in the same site, which is the advantage in a scenario like this where we have the backup repository in the DR site. The advantage is that we basically leverage DR site resources, storage, but also computing, everything from the DR site, from the passive site for backup. So one of the unique aspects of the long-term retention with Zerto is that is really zero impact. As you know, you need usually with traditional solutions, so you need backup windows, because otherwise you risk that the systems are not available. This is not an issue with Zerto. And even when working in a local continuous backup, like protecting the VMs in the same site, we don't access the source VM. So of course we use storage, we use computing, but we in that case we still don't touch the source VM. So we always preserve the productivity and performances of the VM. So let's start creating the VPG. This way I can show you better how this is implemented. Let's start with ADR VPG. This is the latest version, the latest major release of Zerto 9. Actually, today we are already at the update 1 of the patch. We develop in life cycles of 6 months. So every 6 months there's a new major release. The next major release will be Zerto 9.5, and the next one Zerto 10. If that will be the name, or there will be a new name, as it will be an important release during the years. When we configure the VPG, we have the possibility to choose the VPG type. We can create a VPG in remote DR and continuous backup. So with an enterprise license, you can choose the type that you have all the features available. Let's start with the ADR VPG. Let's add a name. I'm using the Connect distribution one that is already present here. And we can assign a priority. The priority is used for bandwidth allocation and quality of services. Priority between all the VPGs. On the left is the list of available VMs for protection. Actually, I'm already protecting all the virtual machines. So that's why I see only those 2 VMs. This is the Zerto ZVM. This is the licensing server of Zerto. That is a new component as well. But with one-to-many, we have also the possibility to reprotect a VM that is already protected. So let's assume I want to protect this virtual machine. I'm not sure about the state, but let's try. And then we can, of course, we support boot priority, boot delay, so for proper bootstrap of your application stacks. And we can choose the target site. We can replicate locally. We can replicate to another VMware site, to Azure, to AWS, where actually it's already protecting there. So let's protect to this other VMware site. Then we can choose the landing host, specific hosts, or entire clusters. The load will be the landing of the VMs will be automatically distributed by Zerto. Then we can choose the data store, where we will create the recovery disks, and by default also the journal disk. The journal history specifies the data retention as anticipated before. So we can configure it in between 1 hour and up to 30 days. I'm going to configure 1 hour for this exercise, but there are no limits and there are no impacts on the RTOs with this setting. So we can keep 30 days of data retention, meaning that we can restore with the point in time in seconds up to 30 days plus long-term retention. Those are just reminders or alerting. So there is no need to tune RPOs and RTOs with Zerto. We will provide the best out of the throughput of the infrastructure. So as you can see here, we have RPOs of seconds, but this is an alert should we go above the RPOs of 5 minutes. Test reminder, just a reminder for the test. One compression, we have layer 7 let's delete compression built in. So we can keep it enabled also when we work in LAN and PLS, except we are using hardware accelerators like Riverbed, Silver Peak, we can disable the one compression. Any setting is granular, so you will have always access to granular setting and etc. So again, the interface is very simple, but we have all the enterprise features in it. This is the storage tab. We have the possibility to create the disk in tin, tick provisioning, features like preceding. We support raw device mappings, so we also help customers with transformation. And then in the recovery tab, we have the network orchestration part. This is specific to VMware. In the public cloud, this reflects the public cloud stack. I will show you as soon as I finish the creation of this VPG. Then we can set basically here the landing VLANs. So the VLANs that will be attached to the VMs for the live operation. So for example, for the R operation or migration, and the test VLAN. The test VLAN is a VLAN without uplinks, an isolated LAN, a bubble network that can be used for testing, because with Zerto it's possible to execute failover tests without stopping the protection of the production VMs. So we have the possibility to start the virtual machines to a specific point in time for testing. Think about a ransomware. We can safely run those virtual machines in a bubble network where the ransomware cannot propagate, and identify if there's a ransomware to a specific point in time, and then run the DR operation 5 seconds before the ransomware, cutting down the data loss. This is just an example. The recovery folder, where the virtual machines will be created in the inventory. We have possibility to run pre and post recovery scripts. I'm speeding up a bit because we don't have a lot of time left, and I want to show you the recovery operations. This is the network part. So not only the orchestration, we have the possibility, of course, also to do IP. By default, we keep the same settings, but we have also the possibility to change the IP. Important to know, we don't have agents, so how we change the IP? Basically, we tell the hypervisor tools, like the VMware tools, to inject the IP in the VM configuration. Next, we have the possibility to enable in the same workflow long-term retention. That's why it's near. So the reason why it's near is exactly the fact that we need the replica data to enable long-term retention. So we can, in this case, use the replica data and archive the replica data for long-term to a repository that can be an FS. Some of those are the ones that I have configured. We can choose Azure. We can configure our schedule like any other backup solution, but it's a unified, the right terminology, in my opinion, is, because it's unique. It's a unified edge to cloud workflow. And we can then, of course, configure also the retention for the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the yearly. There are no limits for the backup. We support indexing, so we can configure indexing. We can do app-aware backups. We have also the access into the product if you would like to use it. And at the end, there's a summary. Once we click done, an initial sync will start if the virtual machine is healthy. In this case, I did not check before, to be honest. And once the VPG is emitting SLA, we are ready to start the recovery operations. And the recovery operations are available in addition to features like offsite clone. In addition to offsite clone, we can trigger. The offsite clone basically is a feature that gives you the possibility to clone the data from the replica data. So also in this case, sorry for the noise, also in this case, we use the replica data for cloning. So for example, you can do refresh of QA environment with production data. this is just an example. And then once everything is meeting SLA, as you can see, this VPG is syncing, while this virtual machine is already replicating to AWS. So basically, I'm protecting this virtual machine to AWS and also to VMware. We are ready for the recovery operations, and what we have the move. The move is pretty specific for the workload mobility. The difference between the move and the failover live or failover test is that we don't have access to the list of checkpoints because provides a data loss 0. Also, we have rapid reverse protection. So, for example, I can move a VPG from site B to site A, and we have some options. I can enable the reverse protection. I can replicate in the opposite direction the data. This will happen immediately with the move, thanks to these rapid reverse protection features. This is important. So our customer have the possibility to do planned DR tests or test the health of the DR infrastructure, so the functionality of the DR infrastructure actually, and have the possibility to bring back the data in a short time without waiting the data is fully aligned again with legacy approach. So actually customers can move petabytes of data to and back the sites. The commit policy is a policy that adds the possibility to define a time window for testing also during the live operation. So we also have the possibility to test. We have also other triggers that are more common for the migration, like disabling reverse protection and keeping the source VM disk. But I'm just showing you a move just to show you what we'll do. So the VM protected in this VPG is so this is the topology, but we can check the VM details here. So I'm moving this virtual machine 2012 R2 standard 10 gigabyte from, again, the size doesn't change, will be powered off from this site. We will create a last point in time. You see, this is powered off. It will be powered on in the target site. Basically, we are creating a last point in time, aligning seconds power on, and it will be deleted from the inventory. From here, it will disappear from here, from the source site, but the disk will be kept for the reverse replication. So as you can see, in really a matter of seconds, the virtual machine is already about to start and think. Of course, this is a lab, so performances are not high, but those are the RTOs of Zerto. But this will be probably more clear if we talk about RTOs when we do a failover test operation. What we can do, for example, we can test protected VMs. I can run it on Azure. So for now, let's work on VMware. I'm happy also to have more sessions also if you want to focus on the public cloud and so on. But the behavior is exactly the same. What you will see is the virtual machine starting in the public cloud, exactly like we do on VMware. So we can move workloads seamlessly to, from, and between any platform. So let's pick up this VPG. And as you can see here, we can choose the list of checkpoints. So this is the granularity of seconds that we provide. This is a failover test, but we can also do a live operation. So we can do a real DR operation. And as you can see, this is 1 hour of journal. We have 1,456 checkpoints. So we have the possibility to choose between the second 23, second 18, etc., etc. So we can choose our checkpoint and run the failover test while we will still be protecting the source VM. The virtual machine will be starting in the DR site. Let me just see which is, I forgot the name of the VPG. Okay, tier 2. So let's see which VM there was here. Tier 2, this is the Windows 2012 R2 VM. So still running in the source side. This is the production VM, while this is the test VM. as you can see, is started with the tag testing recovery, and we can then interact with the VM. So if there is a SQL database, we can open SQL Management Studio, we can extract tables, we can interact with Exchange, we can actually restore even a file, but actually this is not required because it's already provided by the UI. As you can see, the RTOs are very short. We can see it also from the monitoring tab, sorry, from the reports tab. We have also the possibility to export reports, but we can already see, we can export to PDF, but we can already see the reports. So this was a failover to AWS, but if you can see, this move was 1 minute of RTO, and this is a lab, but we also have seconds, so 48, etc., etc. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, but let me just show you quickly. Also, I've shown you basically the trigger. Those are trigger, the live and the test are as target to restore the VMs in the target. But we can also not only use failover or remove operation, we can also restore files from journal, for example, or files and folder also from backup. We just need to choose the operation that we want to do. Like, we want to restore a file. Let's choose the virtual machine. We can choose the point in time. This one was a backup, but if we want to restore from the journal, we can also do that. In this case, this is a local replication. So I have available mainly repositories, but if we want to restore a file from the journal, so from ADR workflow, we can do from ADR workflow. So for example, I can restore a file from the replica to AWS. And again, we have the list of thousands of checkpoints. The restore file, we can either download or restore in the source VM. But interesting to show as last use case is the possibility, for example, not only to do search and restore, but the possibility to do an instant restore of a virtual machine from the local replication. So this is basically a backup use case addressed with the DR technology and with the RTO times over DR technology. So I can choose a VM that is locally replicated, a local continuous backup. I have the possibility to choose if I want to restore from backup or if I want to restore from the journal. If I restore from journal, I have the possibility to do an instant restore. We can again specify the data store, the recovery disks. If we want to shut down the source VM before restoring the one from the journal, and then we can do an instant restore. Okay, I actually deleted. I think that I deleted the VPG. So let me see. I see what, because I was fixing it before. Yeah, let's try again. I don't know, because I deleted the VPG before. I'm sorry. Let's see if we available the latest point in time. Because otherwise, so basically I deleted the replica disk from VMware instead of doing that from Zerto. That's why I have a misalignment. Okay, so the last point in time was available because I basically deleted the disk from the virtual machine from VMware. I restored the VM from backup, and then I put the VM again in replication. So and this is basically an instant restore. So we will see this virtual machine starting. Actually, is this one. You can see is immediately restarting in the same site. So I will stop here also because I think that Slawek might want to wrap up the session, or you might have some questions. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Slawek?
No, it's Christoph this time.
Okay, Christoph.
Because Sławek is in this moment busy,
Sure.
has another meetings. But as I see, it is no question at the moment. Szanowni Państwo,
Okay.
jeżeli byście mieli jakieś pytania, to zapraszam do zadania ich teraz. Jeśli nie, to będziemy dalej to kontynuować i w momencie, kiedy takie pytania by się pojawiły, to oczywiście my postaramy się na nie odpowiedzieć, bądź skorzystamy z pomocy Guido. Guido, as I see, it is no question at this moment.
Okay.
Attendance,
So
don't ask.
okay.
of any
So
question.
just thanks everyone for attending and
Okay.
for the time today. And if you have any question, please feel free to reach out to Sławek, to Marcin, to
To
Christoph.
me, to
And
Christoph, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And we are available anytime. Okay.
So, Guido, one more time, thank you very much for your time, for your presentation, and I hope we will see, we meet
Let's hope
each
the
other
best.
next time.
Let's hope the best.
Yeah.
Everyone, have everyone a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye, ciao. Dziękuję
Ciao.
bardzo, szanowni Państwo, za dzisiejszy udział, za dzisiejszą prezentację. Jeżeli byście Państwo mieli jakiekolwiek pytania, to zapraszam do kontaktu z nami, czyli z Connect Distribution. Chętnie na Wasze pytania odpowiemy i postaramy się rozwiać wszystkie Wasze wątpliwości. Jeszcze raz dziękuję za czas poświęcony i za udział w naszym dzisiejszym spotkaniu. Wszystkiego dobrego życzę, zdrowia i do następnego razu.